Hi, this is Barry here, and you're very, very welcome to today's podcast episode from WriteCome.com. And today I want to celebrate your suckiness. I want to celebrate how terrible you are as a writer. And this podcast episode is entitled 3 Reasons Why It's Great That You Suck at What You Do. Now, you're probably wondering, well, I've never really heard, an episode like this before, because everybody's always kind of, bigging up their successes and, their strengths and, all this thing, and don't look at the negative part of it. So I just thought today we'd have a look at the negative and, how bad you are at what you do. And for some of us, the first one is the frustration that we have. You may write a piece, you may read it later on or the next day, and you go through it, and you just can't believe how bad you are as a writer. At the time you were typing it out, it seemed like you were just writing this fantastic prose that was going to move your audience, and they were going to email you and say, that's the best thing I've ever written or I've ever read. And you read yourself the next day, and it's just the biggest load of tripe you've ever seen. You can't believe that those words actually came out of your mind, and you actually spend time typing it out. So I wanted to say to you that you should celebrate that frustration. And the reason I say you should celebrate that frustration that you have is because if you weren't frustrated, you wouldn't care about your writing. For example, you probably know people who have never had the inclination to be a writer, who've never, sat down, even wrote up a blog post, because it's not in them. They haven't got this thing in them. And, if they never wrote a piece, it would never worry them. But for you, because you have this, there is a talent in you for writing, and this frustration that's shown at the moment is you realize that you could be so much better, and you're frustrated because there's this kind of gap between where you inside see yourself as a writer, but the results you're showing at the moment are there's so vast of a difference between them. That's why you have that kind of frustration and anger that why are you so bad as you are. Maybe you're putting in the work and it's not coming through yet, but just be aware that you will reach that point. And it's this feeling of frustration that you have because there's such a big gap. Just take it this way, that if you weren't frustrated, it would mean you didn't really care about your writing. You didn't care what you're writing down, but because you do care, that's what this feeling of frustration is coming into you, and that's what's angering you at the moment. Now, another thing then to pay in mind too, apart from the frustration, is to celebrate how crappy you are at the moment. Everybody said, you should celebrate how great you are, but I'm just telling you now, whatever level you're at the moment, how you're disappointed with your writing skills, I want to celebrate today, how crappy you are. For example, if I took you onto the football field at the Super Bowl or the World Cup or something like that, and I tossed you the ball and you had to take the the last kick of the game, whether it was a penalty shoot or whether it was a last conversion kick or whatever it is in American football, and I put you there and I said, right, we're all dependent on you, you really need to do this. Would you really have the confidence to kick that ball into the goal or over the bar? You'd probably crumble, maybe you'd freeze, and you'd be looking around and the whole stadium is all watching you, and you'd just kind of, I don't know, maybe you'd wet your pants or whatever, because this, it was so much stress on you. You weren't ready for it. There's a reason why those American footballers or soccer players go through hours and hours and hours of drills and showing up at training and, doing things that the majority of us don't know that we do. And, they've made all the bad shots, they've missed the goals loads of times, they've goofed up so many times, but over time, because they worked harder and harder and harder on that, on their sport, that they got to the point where, they could walk up calmly, could put the ball down on the penalty spot or, get ready for the place kick or whatever, because they have, they have gone through all that. They're ready for that. So, to think that you could just take your writing straight away and expect to get your book on the New York Times bestseller, best-selling list, or have a blog that's going to be visited by maybe 20,000 people a month or 100,000 people a month, or, have it as big as the Huffington Post or something like that on your very first day, you're kidding yourself, because you as a person, you're not ready for that. Your writing is going to suck. You're not going to have the commitment, you're not going to have the talent, you're not going to have put all those, like that 10,000 hours of, work behind it that's going to improve your skill. So celebrate that you are crap at the moment. You may think you were crap, today, but, how was your writing a week ago, 2 weeks ago, even a month ago? Read through, work that you've written maybe, 6 months ago. How bad was your writing then? No matter how bad you think your crappy writing is now, if you've been putting in the work, I'm sure you can look back and you can see a difference in it. But again, there's going to be a big difference between where you are at the moment and where you envision yourself, where that success is that you want to be. So celebrate the crappiness that you are, because you're not ready to be there. You can't expect all those people to be writing glowing book reviews about your book when you haven't got the talent, you haven't got the skill of creating a good storyline or plotting or character development or whatever it is. And, you're going to have to put the work in. So celebrate the crappiness that you're at the moment. And the final reason you should celebrate, all those bad things about yourself is everybody else is going through that. There's you and other authors at your level. They're all going to be going through the same doubts about themselves. They're all going to be going through the points where, they're wondering, can I really do this? And, and they're going to be frustrated and all that. And the best thing about that is it's nature's way of going to dwindle down your competition. Like, if you're going through this now and you're on the verge of giving up, believe me, there's probably authors and writers all over the world now who are in the same situation of you, and they're going to walk away and they're not going to do that book. They're not going to create that blog or whatever it is, because they are as totally frustrated and feel that they have no talent and that they're crap as much as you are. But the fact is, if you stay longer in the game, you're going to find that by the time you get to the finish line of where your goal is, you're going to look around and you're going to realize where is all the competition that you expect to find there. And probably if you look back, you'd probably see all those people have given up, weeks, months, maybe years ago, because the things that you're going through at the moment, the things that are making you want to quit, are the exact same things that's going to make them quit. But if you stay longer in the game, you're going to eventually get better. You're going to get to this point where you're going to, be at the finish line and you're going to be the only one there. Have a look at it this way, like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Vin Diesel, all these actors, like, to me, and maybe possibly to you, they make great action movies and all that, but are they really the best actors in the world? Do they deserve to, all the fame and everything they get? And yet they have stuck so long in it. They've ground themselves over and over again. They've showed up for auditions. They've done loads of crappy movies, and they've stayed longer in the game than possibly actors far better than them. And because of that, then they have reached the pinnacle. They have reached the goal line that, all those other actors who probably were far better than them might have made better movies, but never stayed long enough in the game. They gave up because they were going through the same things as Arnold Schwarzenegger, but because he stuck in the game, he showed up again and again and again. And it's this commitment to, just to knuckle down, just to focus on being a better version of you. And as I said, the longer you stay in the game, you're going to turn up at that finish line and you're going to be the only one standing there. And people are going to be amazed and say, why is she there? Because she's not as talented, or he's not as talented. And I can't believe that they wrote that best-selling book. And, they've been writing for years and years and years. And, when I read their work years ago, it was terrible, but look at them now. So I'm just telling you, celebrate your crappiness, because, your frustration is because, there is a gap between part of you inside knows that you can be a better writer, but what you're doing at the moment is so far, there's such a big gap between that. That's why you're frustrated. Celebrate your crappiness. You're not ready for the big time yet. When you're ready for the big time, if you put in the hours now, when the big time shows up, you'll be well fit to deal with it. And again, celebrate, the frustrations you're going through and the crappiness you're going through at the moment, because everybody else is going to go through it at the same levels you're at. But the best thing is, they're going to give up long before you will. And if you keep committed and keep going, you're going to reach the goal that you see ahead of you. So I hope you enjoyed today's podcast episode. I hope it's, lit a little bit of fire under you and motivated you to keep going, even though maybe the results aren't shown for you at the moment. If you enjoyed this episode, could you please take a second now, maybe just to share it on social media or to share this episode with a friend? I would really, really appreciate it. And again, too, if you have, access to iTunes at the moment, if you could just leave us a quick review, it would be really, really greatly appreciated. So again, thanks again for sharing the time again today, and take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.